You are listening to Healing with Haley, episode 65, Letting Go to Level Up, an Entrepreneur's Pivot by Virak Chhang. Welcome to Healing with Haley. I'm your coach, Haley Kirk. On this podcast, we dive into ways to heal, embrace, and truly love our lives. Here's my belief. So much of our suffering comes from what we believe. I'm here to help you understand your mind and question those thoughts to start your healing journey. Ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome you guys to the podcast. So I have an amazing guest. I have Virak Chhang here with us, and he is going to blow your mind. He is literally the most talented person I know. And right before this recording, he was literally telling me the 8 languages he's learning. So I can't wait to have this convo. Welcome to the podcast, Virak.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes. So tell me what got
Now everyone's going to be challenging me on that. You open that up
what?
with that. Now everyone's going to be challenging me on the languages. You start the podcast like that.
Oh, you're
No, it's fine.
right.
No,
Let's
it's fine.
let's challenge you right this moment. So I really want to, I always love going back to the origin story. Like, what's your origin story? What got you into photography and entrepreneurship? What was the origin story?
Oh, of entrepreneurship or the photography?
Both.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people will ask, I think people are really obsessed with titles. And I don't like to be, quote, titled. I don't want to like to be labeled. And in the DC area, that's a very popular thing where people ask you, what do you do for a living? So if you say photographer, they automatically says, oh, he's a photographer. He must be A, B, and C. I don't necessarily like that.
Mm.
Um, One of the lines I actually stole from Abraham was like, you know what? I'm not a photographer. I'm a businessman that takes photos. And,
Hey,
because
yes,
he said,
that.
he's like, I hate to credit him for that, but it's true because he was like, I'm not a dance teacher. I'm a businessman that teaches dance. And
Hey,
I prefer that element of that because there's an aspect of business, there's an aspect of photography.
right.
And I hear a lot of people say, hey, I'm getting into photography business. Well, you're going to be a photographer or you're going to be a business person or you can be both. But just because you
Mm.
say that you're a photographer, it doesn't mean you're good. So just because you have a
Yeah,
title, it doesn't mean you're good. You can you can spend 12 years in school and come out with a degree and say, I'm a doctor, but it
yeah,
doesn't mean you're a good doctor.
that's
So for
true.
me, titles don't necessarily mean anything. Uh,
Right.
now, now with that said, people tend to forget that, uh, I don't talk about it a lot unless it's brought up in conversation, but I spent, close to 8 years in business and finance.
Oh
Uh,
my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I worked with Bank of America, and then I was a regional executive at PNC Bank, and I worked at I covered 13 branches. I was working in the corporate office and in a division called Workplace Banking, um, and that was what I was doing. Now, there's different levels of a financial advisor, a financial consultant, and stuff. And I started out as a financial sales consultant. So that's really just a fancy word to say you're a salesman, and I want to work my way up to financial consultant, to a regional financial consultant. And to go up this ladder, you had to get certain certifications. And I was getting these big deals. Well, side story, I worked with a lot of Middle Easterners because I was working in the Georgetown branch, which is across the street from the Qatar embassy. It was down the street from the Saudi embassy. And one thing I
Wow.
learned was a lot of times with the Middle Eastern clients, you don't talk business, you establish relationships. They
Mhm.
have to get to know you. And at the time, I used to ride a motorcycle, and I would talk to some of them. They would talk to me about my motorcycle, and I would just talk like that. And then they start bringing me these big accounts.
Wow.
And the other thing was, it wasn't like I was anyone special at the bank. It was because I was the only male at that particular bank.
No way.
And a lot of them preferred to only work with men.
Yeah.
So as I was getting these big accounts, some of the regional personnel were like, hey, you can't take these accounts. You need to have your license. You need to have this. I was like, oh, then give me a license. Well, you need to take some tests. You need to do this, that, and the third. I'm like, well, give me the test. So I had
I
to read, I had to read stacks and stacks of books and stuff like that in preparation for this test. And when you study the U.S. tax code, you start to realize it's like, wow, this is not a scam. this is just the way things are. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, I'm personally politically neutral, so let me just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
um but you started looking at the tax code and I'm like, this is legal, this is how the game is played.
Right.
And I'm like, here I am giving advice, and here I am trying to guide my clients to making the best financial decisions, and I'm like, why am I poor? Why am I like, why am
Wow.
I broke? Why am I, you know, working so hard to see these other people? And here's the thing, when you're working at a branch, when you're working at a bank, these people can't hide from you. You're literally looking at how much money they have. You're literally looking at what
Right.
they're worth. And it's true what they say. Like, I have men in these great, beautiful suits and nice watches and great attire, and they'll come to my branch and they say, hey, I got charged some overdraft fees and I'm hoping I can get some refunds on it. But then I see this guy coming in here with like shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops. And I pull his account up and I'm like, sir, Mr. Smith, you have about, $7.8 million sitting in a non-interest checking account or interest. Have you considered doing something a little bit more aggressive? Have you considered doing something with the funds that you have? And they're like, nah, I just kind of sold the business. Haven't figured out what I want to do with it yet, but I might put in a money market, or I might, and they're just casually talking about. I'm like, I'm looking at the screen. I see literally millions of dollars sitting in your account, and they're
Gee.
not, but they were just really cool, really down to earth. And
Have you read that book Millionaire Next Door?
I know of it.
They literally did a study on the majority of millionaires in America. They're like that. They're like the shorts and the flip-flops and the, not mansion, but just like your nice house. Like they're just literally next door because they're just so frugal with their money. Like it's so impressive.
Well, that's the thing. You don't become a millionaire because you spend your money. You get it because you keep it. And
Yeah.
you know
Protect it and invest it. Yeah.
exactly. And then the people with those habits, that's what I started to try to pick up off of. And towards the end of my tenure at the bank, um, I was just literally watching people make money, and I'm just like, I need to find a way to just monetize my hobbies. That's what I wanted to. I just wanted to
Ooh.
monetize my hobbies.
I like that
And
phraseology, monetize my hobbies. That's cool.
yeah, and the thing was, even getting into banking, because my mom always said, like, Virak, I just want to see you in a suit. Like, which is one.
She's so cute.
Yeah,
Oh,
which is one. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I even got into banking, because she kind of pressured me into like getting a real corporate job.
yeah.
um but that's just honestly just not me.
Right.
But yeah, after I left the bank, I said, what, why don't I just monetize my hobbies? Because if you really think about it, all these businesses, that's how it starts. Somebody has a hobby and they find a way to make money from it, and that's it.
Wow.
And I took what I learned from the bank and I said, okay, well, let's do it that way. um Now, Cliff Notes version of this story, but during that time, girl issues, work issues, all of this came, at the same time. So after I left the bank, I remember it was May 5th, 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember precisely where I was exactly that time. Um,
Determined date.
and then the girl I was with just really just pissed me off. So then I just jumped on a plane, flew to Seattle, because my best friend was stationed there at the time. I just literally flew to Seattle and just hung out with him. Like, I'm retired, I'm done, you know. And I just want to just go take photos. Anyway, so this was kind of a turning point, because what happened was I was out in Washington taking photos on the beach, and this guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, are you a photographer? Like my wife, she loves taking photos. Can you take photos?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." So I take pictures of this woman, and I gave it to them to the next day. Ruwani was her name, and I didn't realize that she was like apparently a somebody in her country. So then a magazine reached out to me and asked to purchase the photos
Oh,
from me so they could put her in like this luxury magazine. I'm like, yeah, sure. So, I'm like, hey, this is cool. I just got paid. I can, okay, this is kind of cool. So I was like, I think I can, turn this into a monetized thing. Um, so then when I came, we took a road trip that time. So then we're like, exploring the US. We took a road trip. And when we came back, I saw a sign that says we're looking for models, and I'm like, yeah, me too. So I went to this casting call for a show called America's Next Top Model, and I essentially crashed it. I essentially crashed um, this casting call. I bring my camera and I'm snapping photos. Okay, hold on. Let's rewind the story even a little bit further back. Okay. I was at Pentagon City and the rapper T.I. happened to be there. So T.I. was there and I had my camera with me because I made it a goal to just carry my camera everywhere. And um, I was with my friend Vanessa and I was like, wait, that's T.I. I'm going to go grab my camera from the car, grab my camera, and I take some pictures of him. And I'm just following around the mall. And I even have some video about this too. And one of the security guards is like, hey, like posing up with Ti. So I take a picture of him, the security guard. I take a picture of a couple other people, and then he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for taking the picture. Can you email it to me? So I email it to him. That was 2 weeks prior to this America's Next Top Model thing. So anyway, I crashed this event at America's Top Model. And of course, I'm taking pictures. I'm trying to network. I'm trying to get to know people. And I get kicked out. They're like, hey, you can't be here, yada, yada, yada. I was like, all right, fine. So I leave, I get in my car, I drive. I was like, no, screw it. This is what I want to do. I parked my car, went back in, and I go back in, and the guy's like, no, we got to leave. And then the security guard from the TI photo recognized me. He's like, hey, you're that guy who emailed me. He's like, yeah, he's cool. He's good. Just let him in.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
So I got in and I'm taking all these pictures. And one of the directors, he's one of the directors for the CW, which is where the show was being hosted by. So, so it's like, hey, thanks for, taking these photos. Can we get a copy? So I put the Wi-Fi on my camera to my phone and I connect it and I send him the photos on the spot. And then
Ooh.
he comes back to me. He's like, bro, how did you get here? How did you get these photos so fast? I'm like, well, it's like, hey, I like your work. Hey, I have an event tomorrow that we can't make. Would you be interested in shooting that? I'm like,
Stop it. Oh
yes.
my God.
And I said, sure. What is it? He's like, it's the Redskins playoffs. I'm like,
What?
okay, bet. So I go to it was basically a press conference held at the National Harbor. So I got my picture. I was rubbing elbows with everyone. I got pictures of RG3 and Mike Shanahan during the Mike Shanahan days. You could tell how old this is, but what was funny is I even jumped onto the bus and I'm like, you guys are going to do this. And then security they grabbed me and they pulled me out of the bus because I was supposed to go on the bus apparently. Um, but then that really kind of gave me the permission to say, you know what, I think I can do this as a career and let me double down and do some more. So that's part of that origin story. It goes further back, but that's kind of the point where I said, I'm going to make this. I'm not in banking anymore. I'm going to took what I learned in the bank and apply it towards photography.
I love that origin story so much because I feel like you listen to any entrepreneur or any kind of great discovery or any moment of success, it's opportunity meets hard work. So it's like these two, like you're actively pursuing opportunities and then they just come. Like that story blows me away. And it was like opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Like it sounded like there was a point in time where you're like, no, I'm gonna do this. This is who I am. Like you kind of took on this, like, I'm a photographer. Yeah, let's go. This is who I am, and I'm just gonna take pictures because that's what photographers do. Is that kind of like your mindset?
Well, more of my mind. Well, there is a saying that says chance favors the prepared. Um,
Ayy.
and for me, I just kind of like, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well. And I want
Mm,
to learn all the ins and outs about it. I want to learn everything about it. I want to become the subject matter expert of whatever it is that I'm doing. And
nice.
I learned that you have to kind of become obsessed with these things and
Right.
just learn, like, there's a culture behind everything. There's a culture behind everything. And that's what I've discovered. And if you immerse yourself in that culture, you're going to learn better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You
kind of
know,
like a group and it maybe even reinforces the identity. I'm kind of pulling this philosophy from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Like he talks about how you have like your own identity and then like a group identity. So it sounds like you immerse yourself in this photography culture like to get a group identity.
look at this.
Hey yo, he's literally, guys, the listeners I have, he's literally pulling up a whiteboard in front of me and He has his own atomic habits that he's marking down. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Sorry, but yes, I love that
Success
book.
leaves clues. Success leaves clues. Like I know from what I know of you and my time being friends with you is you're just such a ambitious and very success like you've accomplished so much and you have so much success. And it's just so cool that you pulled that down from your wall. Like it makes sense. It makes sense why you were able to accomplish those things.
I love Atomic Habits. I love it.
Yes.
I'm actually in a competition with my wife using Atomic Habits. Um, because and by the way, for anyone not listening, if you haven't picked up that book, pick up the book.
Pick up the book. I literally have like so many episodes of this podcast just saying, listen to Atomic Habits, listen to Atomic Habits. Yeah. So tell me about the competition with your wife. What is that about?
Well, the thing is, we just there are certain things that we know that we need to do, but we just
Yeah.
don't do. So we
Right.
just wrote down the things that we need to do, and then as we do them, we pick up points. Because in Atomic Habits, it says you have to have an accountability partner, and she's my accountability partner for that.
So,
Uh,
well, for the habits that you really struggle with, having an accountability partner really helps. Oh yeah.
Correct. Like for instance, working out. So for
Yeah.
instance, we say, okay, if you work out for 15 minutes, you get 1 point. And it's like has to be an intentional workout, for
Yeah,
instance.
right, right.
Up to an hour. So you get 4 points per day if you work up to an hour. Um,
Nice.
uh,
What do those points give you? What's the reward?
oh, it's monetary.
He's like, oh, it's always money.
Yeah. Um, but we're a married couple,
Yeah.
so we're basically pulling from the same account. But it's just the notion of finding a way to keep us accountable. So even though we have mutual expenses, we're kind of like, no, this is separate. Like this is
I
separate.
love that. Well, and you're also what that's doing is you're literally triggering the reward systems of your brain and making it more enjoyable to do kind of the not enjoyable thing. That's awesome.
Well, that's the thing. I'm actually very competitive. I'm
I
very
know.
I'm
I
very
love that about you.
yeah, and I don't. It's not that I love winning. I'm actually not obsessed about winning. I hate losing. There's a difference.
That's interesting. Okay.
Like like if I'm playing a board game or something and I win, I'm like, cool, I won. Next game, let's do it again, or let's play
Let's do it
something else.
again.
Like it's cool. Like cool, I won. Everyone
Yeah.
knows I'm winning. Cool. But if I lose, I feel like it's the end of the world. And when I lose to somebody else, I look at them as like, what is this person capable of that I'm not? What are they doing?
Wow.
And then for me, okay, so one of my principles is I only take advice from people smarter than me. Now that
Yeah,
sounds
of
that sounds
course.
that, that sounds really arrogant, but
No, it's not. It's wise.
yeah, but what that means to me is like I'm not going to take financial advice from a broke person. I'm not
No.
going to take fitness advice from I'm going to say a fat person. I'm
Right.
not
No.
and it's because these people can only tell you what not to do. And I don't want to take like relationship advice
Mm.
from single people. But if someone is
I
in a
love what you
position,
just said there. Hold on. I want to highlight that. They can only tell me what not to do. That's kind of interesting though, because there's some wisdom even in that. Oh, that's so interesting what you just said. Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, but it's true. Like they tell you what not to do.
Yeah.
Like hey, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, I won't. Now what? Like what's the call to action here? Like
Mm. Oh, it's
um
gonna take me to that next level. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even need to know the other stuff. I just need to know like even like for instance, if someone says if I see someone that's really built and cut and then he just says, "You know what? It'll eat more protein." Bet done. Like for me,
Mm.
I'm this guy, he has a body that I want.
Right.
Um pause. No, but so he's in the shape that where I want to be in.
Yeah.
And so he's got something to provide. So I will pick brains of smarter people. And if he says just eat more protein, cool. I don't even need an explanation.
Right.
Like I don't need to be bothered with the details, but he may say something like, oh, your body's going to take more energy to burn and process the protein, blah, 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 which may be true. But at the end of
Mm.
the day, you're saying eat more protein. Cool. I'm going to eat more protein. But if someone
Right.
comes in here and says, hey, don't drink Coca-Cola. Okay, well, I'm thirsty. I want to fix like, so that doesn't tell me anything, because
Yeah.
you haven't quenched my thirst,
I see
but
what
if
you mean.
yeah, or some, where somebody else can come and say, hey, this particular drink has certain electrolytes and stuff like that. That's a better substitute for the Coca-Cola. That's what I want to hear,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So I like to pick the brains of people that are smarter than me. And I know I'm not the best at everything, but if
Right.
I'm going to be, I want to be the best at everything. That's true.
Mm.
But if I'm going to be, I need to find the people who are better at those things and just pick their brains. And
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
success leaves clues. Absolutely. Yeah, they've achieved the said goal and you want to know exactly what they did. Yeah, because it leaves clues. There's wisdom in what they've accomplished. That makes so much sense. So tell me, Rock, I want to tell our audience how we know each other really quick. So you mentioned Abraham earlier. So Abraham, I know Abraham through the dance scene in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and he's one of the studio owners there. And Virak was recording one of the podcasts that I had done with Abraham. And immediately, like when I first met you, I was like, this guy, you're just like this energetic, positive, like you just can't help but smile when you talk to. Like you just
Oh,
have
that's you. You're talking about you, girl.
no, like I feel that way about you. And you're just like it's like this like it's so easy to be around you. Like it's I feel comfortable and like excited. It's such a fun experience to like be in your presence. So I want to also tell them about your last event that you had where you had this closing of your studio. So talk about that and that transition that you made and why you made it and kind of the business decision behind it all.
Oh, wow. That's a there's an extended cut version of that because I mean there's a lot to unpack here because you also mentioned Abraham and stuff like that because he actually kind of plays into parts of this story as well.
Oh, I love.
Yeah. Because well, if I'm gonna get again going back to the Cliff Notes version of this, because after I left banking, I just didn't want to work, and I was the bad child. I was the rebel, and I was riding motorcycles, and I kept getting into motorcycle accidents. And during that time, I you know would get into accidents, and I didn't have a job, I didn't have insurance, so I would have to kind of pay out of
Oh,
pocket for my medical expenses. And then I had really a pretty banged up incident, so I was like, you know what? I should probably get a job that has insurance. But I had refused to go back to the corporate world. I said, I refused to go back to this 9 to 5 job because every
yeah,
single client that has 9 to 5, they're all broke. All the business people, this, that, and third. So I was like, I just want to have fun.
yeah.
And I found a studio, a dance studio, and I started teaching ballroom dance, which was at Arthur Murray. And at Arthur Murray Tyson's, what happened was Abraham used to work at that Arthur Murray and he
Right.
left. He left Arthur Murray. They posted a position, and I took that position. So during that time with Arthur Murray, my tenure, it was probably about 3 or 4 years that I was there. Everyone was like, "Hey, where's Abraham? Where's Abraham?" I'm like, "I don't know who this Abraham guy is. Like, I don't know who he is. I never met him." And then my coach, Allison, she took me to a party, and he comes in like crazy and dancing, and she's like, "That's Abraham." I'm like,
Ah,
so that's how we met.
oh
Uh,
wow.
so fast forward, while I was in the ballroom dancing, I was still taking photos. So when there were dances that I'll be honest, like I just was not proficient in, and I was afraid to dance, I would be honest, and I would just hide behind my camera. I would hide
Yeah,
behind the camera, and the thing is, dancers are very vain. They love getting their photos taken, and that's
yeah,
one. Yeah, so I would just
yeah,
take pictures of ballroom dancers because I was afraid to dance some of the more with some of the more advanced teach students
yeah.
because I I just was nervous.
Right.
Um, and then eventually, while I was there, I was also looking at the business side of the studio, and I'm thinking, you know what, like if they can have the studio, like it's not impossible. Anyway, fast forward, when you're in the ballroom dance scene, you're also in the Latin dance scene, and that's how I kind of got sucked into the Latin dance scene because I was taking pictures um, for my friend Jackie. You know, actually, what happened was my friend Sammy, who I known since middle school, gave me a call, said, "Hey, there's a party that I'm DJing. Do you just want to come?" So I went, and there was a lot of people. So I went, and I didn't really know anybody, so I just went and grabbed my camera. Again, the camera is a tool that you can just use to hide behind.
I
And at
never
this,
thought of it that way. That's
yeah,
so
it's true. Yeah, that's
yeah.
why there's a lot of introverts in the photography scene.
Oh, that is so interesting. You're not an introvert though.
No, I know that's why I'm a hybrid person, but that's why I'm
Yo,
able.
yes.
But that's why I'm able to make photography work as a living, because you need to have some business savvy. You need to have some type of
Right.
um, confidence when you're talking to people. And I
Uh-huh.
think that's what would make me stand out differently than some other photographers who would rather take pictures of flowers, trees, and landscapes, which is have
Mm,
its own merits. I'm not knocking that.
yeah.
But shooting people is more of my niche.
Yeah.
And yes, being a dancer, being an extrovert, that all helped. But yeah, I met my friend Jackie through Sammy, and she asked me to take pictures of her at that time was called the Iris Lounge, and that's where I started networking with so many different dancers, and I was taking their photos. And one of those photos that I shot for Island Touch Group, and Kat from Ferocity reached out to me after she saw those photos. She's like, "Hey, can you take pictures of us?" I'm like,
Wow.
"Sure." And that's how I got really sucked into the Latin dance scene, and I kept taking more and more photos. So eventually, I'm like, this can be something good. I'm really having a great time. I'm getting more and more business, because with the Latin dance scene, you just get to know a lot of people.
It's true. Yeah, yeah. It's like a big small world.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people. And at the time, I was also getting really sick, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to keep dancing. I don't want to
Mm.
keep dancing. Um, but I do enjoy taking the photos. And um, I did the Ferocity team pictures for several years. And at one of them, now this is going to really start to make sense. At one of the Ferocity photo shoots, I was shooting at a studio called Union 206. And I used to rent their studio month after month after month. And I had like 85 people at this particular photo shoot.
Wow.
A speaker fell from the wall and smashed my computer. As a matter of fact,
No.
hold on one second.
You still have the computer.
So, okay, so this is the computer that it smashed.
That is nuts. So the speaker fell on top of this computer that you're showing us.
Yeah, so it smashed his computer,
No.
and it was only 6 months old at the time, and I was so mad. And the owner said, he's like, hey, you signed a waiver, you had like 80 people in here. He's like, I'm not buying you a new laptop. And it just astounded me that he was so matter of factly about that, because I'd spent so much money renting the studio on multiple occasions. And I felt like, hey, I thought I would be a valued customer that you would treat fairly. And it is true, I did sign a waiver. But I'm like, well, your place wasn't necessarily up to fire code and safety standards. But um, I was venting to the girl I was dating at the time, and I was going off, and then she said, well, why don't you just open your own studio? And I was like, well, yeah, you know what? So that night, I remember I had the best night. I slept so peacefully. The next
Wow.
morning, yeah, the next morning, I pulled up their website, and I did a 2-year analysis on their business. Are you still there? I think
Yeah.
you just blinked out.
That's so weird.
Blink
You're
twice if you can hear me.
blinking twice. Oh, you're frozen.
Hello? If you can
What?
hear me, I can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
that was so weird. You were like frozen.
Oh,
Huh.
okay. All right. I'm
Okay.
sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. So then, yeah. So the next day, I went and I pulled down about 2 or 3 years worth of their information online, basically to see how many bookings they had, and then I took up like how much it costs per booking per room, and I did this full financial spreadsheet of how much money they were making based on what I could see online and the bookings that were confirmed. And then I pulled up some of the real estate information to find out what they were paying per month. And then I just kind of like made a general calculation of what the expenses would be. I'm like, this is a very viable business. This is a very viable business.
Wow.
And then I was like, yeah, so I'm going to do this. So literally the next weekend, I bought everything in the room that they had that I used to rent. So they used to have like these lights called Alien B was the brand. It says they have Alien B 400s. I'm going to get Alien B 800s. Oh, they have aluminum stands. I'm going to get metal stands. Like I was so petty that I just went and got the same extension cords, like like no, it was super petty because I remember I was at Home Depot and I'm like, this is the one they have. Okay, there's like a 16-foot and a 20-foot. I'm getting the 20-foot. Just like
Oh, I love it.
just for the art of being petty. So I had everything. I had all the lights. I even bought the same soft boxes, the same stands. The only thing I didn't have was like a room, but I did have these backdrop and paper backdrops. So I would go from like dance festival to dance festival and set up. And of course, like I said, dancers are very vain. And I would take pictures of so many different dancers, and it allowed me to kind of explore my creativity. And I said, I'm going to open my own studio. And I made a vlog and I said, I'm going to open my own studio. And it took me 4 years of looking at different locations, looking at different spots, trying different things. And even one year, I was taking Kat from Ferocity to the airport. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm about to get the studio on Tycho Road. It's near the Salsa, well, near the Iris Lounge. And she's like, oh, wow. And it's like, yeah, it's like $12,000 a month. And she's like, what are you doing? 12,000? Like, you're crazy. How are you going to get $12,000 a month? I'm like, I don't know. Like, if I can make just, 3 a week, yeah, I can do it. She's like, V, like, I'm trying to do what I can with a small studio. How are you going to make money for a big studio? And I was like, again, that's the ambition talking, right?
Right.
She said, just get a small studio until you can outgrow it and
Yeah.
then consider doing it. So that's what sent me off onto
Yeah.
finding a
That's such
smaller.
good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm sorry for making this story so long. I'm trying to give you Cliff
I
Notes
love
version.
it. No, it's great. It's great info.
Well, and eventually, I got back in touch with Abraham, and Abraham was running Crown Dance Studio, and he had a need. He needed male dance instructors. He says, "Hey, I have all these women that are sitting on. They don't pay money to just sit down. They come here to dance. I need a guy that can dance ballroom dance." And at that time, there was other places that were asking for me to teach, not because like I'm like this great ballroom dance teacher. It's because honestly, it's really hard to find male dance teachers, period. Especially if you compare it to how many you can find female dance teachers.
Right.
So it's a high commodity. Like we're a hot commodity. So then, Abraham had a need, and I told him, it's like, honestly, my goal is to open a studio. And he said, look, if you just come teach for me, I can't pay you what they're offering, but you can use my small room. So that's how I started working at Crown and teaching at Crown, is because he allowed me to use the small room to host my event Photo Fest. He would allow me to set up my shop there whenever I needed to do photo shoots. Because again, that was my priority. Teaching dance was no longer my priority. It was
Yeah.
about taking photos.
Yeah.
And that's how I got the small room. I don't know if you're familiar. You're familiar with the small room at Crown.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot of my photo shoots from that small room. And then one day Abraham comes and he knocks on the door and he says, follow me. Takes me down the hall, introduced me to the guy Muhammad. And Muhammad had just moved his business to Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and he used to package tobacco in that room. And he said, well, like he's ready to leave, and it doesn't make sense for him to keep the space. And I said, I want it. And he says, well, I was like, no, I was like, I want the space, because I was actually trying to get the room next door to the small room of Crown. And I had already been working on making plans to take over that room. But when the room down the hall came available, I was like, get out. I want it. And he
Get
says,
out.
well, I have my stuff. I was like, he's like, well, I still have my lease on it. So I was like, all right, I'll pay it off. So I was like, just get out. I can move in today. Um, so he said, okay, you can move in March 1st. And I was like, no, I want to go in February 1st. I want you out there sooner. I'll pay off your lease. So I paid the guy's lease off, and we agreed that I could take it over on February 14th, which is mid-February. I was like, this is my Valentine's gift to me.
Yeah.
And so my official day was February 13th. So that's how I got the studio.
It's
So
amazing.
then after his lease ran up, then I signed up for my own lease under my name, like a more formal lease under my name. And ultimately in 2005, that lease came due, and I chose not to renew it. Yeah, so that's the cliff notes just to catch you up to 2025.
Yes. So you had so from the guy that packaged the cigarettes, what year was that?
2020.
Ah, so for 5 years you had that studio that back there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
right there at the pandemic. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And I was like, I just spent all this money on getting the studio. And now we get hit with the pandemic. So for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this time to learn new things. And I learned live streaming because live streaming became a big thing.
Right.
And I learned live streaming. I doubled down on that. I started fixing up the studio. Um, and eventually we got, because I knew we would eventually get out of the pandemic. So I just wanted to be prepared for that.
Right.
And then I would take more and more photos and more videos, and the business grew. And honestly, in 2025, that was my best year. So the last year was actually my best financial year
Wow.
of the studio. Um, but I chose to not renew it for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I wanted to kind of get out while I felt that I was on top. Like I don't have much more to prove. Like I've proven myself. I can run the studio. I kept it alive for 5 years. And last year, we actually I had visited Taiwan for the first time. Okay, don't forget. Here's other things, important things I left out is, 2019, I met Chi. 2022, we got married. These
Hmm.
are important things to add in there.
Yes.
2023, we bought a house together, and 2024, we went to Taiwan, and um, later that year, we also went to Panama, and that's actually when I started learning Spanish because in Panama, like everyone speaks Spanish,
Right.
and I just kind of like felt like, wow, this is so much fun. Like I'm such a workaholic, but because I spent so much time working, I feel like I'm missing out on the world. I'm missing out on so much life that's out there.
Yeah.
And like I didn't waste any time. As soon as the studio, and it was a long process to close the studio. And I had already, you know, well, the thing was like when we were looking for houses, we were looking at townhouses. And after looking at the finances, I'm like, we were talking about like, well, if you didn't have the studio, we could justify, you know, a single family house, and that's what we did. And um I had already made up my mind that I was going to give up the studio, but I was like, I'll just try to make more money. I'll just try to get more gigs. And that's the thing about businesses versus like a 9 to 5. You can just make like you can make as much as you want. The harder you work, the more money you can make. And with a 9 to 5, you're kind of capped. And so I just kind of kept it afloat, just kept working. And eventually, there is a burnout is a thing.
Yes.
And eventually I think, yeah, my contention was like, I want to kind of like use my equipment for me. Like what, like if you
Mm.
ask, even for this email, you know how hard it is for me to find a headshot? Like I don't even have a proper headshot. Like
That's so crazy. Wow.
yeah, and of course I could do that, but maybe because I just like to tell the story. Because the
Yeah.
irony is like, well, I have all this equipment for other people. All this equipment, like this podcast mic, Abraham used it more than me. All the recording equipment, other people use it more than me. All the photos and all the lighting, more people were in front of those lights, and more people have sat in front of my cameras and lenses than myself.
Yeah.
And um, I just wanted to take a break. And then when I went on these trips, I I took so much photos and so much videos, and it reminded me how much I really like taking photos and how much I love taking videos and editing. I love the process, and it was for me. It wasn't even for making money. It was just kind
Yeah.
of like, hey, I'm just gonna do some vlogs. I'm gonna do something for me. I'm gonna
Wow.
have some fun, and the heck with everybody else, and just kind of close my ears and eyes to all the other noise, and just live life. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's interesting how much like a passion that started out just kind of like it's fun, it's playful, and it's kind of in this like childhood stage, and then you kind of get into the rigmarole, right? Of like the burnout, and you're like, and then you finally kind of go back to that childhood, like, wow, like this is so fun, and this is for me, and it's
Yes.
yeah, it's an evolution when you have a hobby and a talent for something, it goes through these seasons, like you're saying. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, because I was teaching workshops every week, and
Wow.
and I'll be honest, I kind of miss teaching those workshops.
You're
And
so
the
good
thing,
at it.
well, I appreciate that, thank you. But even if it's just because you're good at something, doesn't mean you have to monetize it, because it kind of takes
Mm,
away from it as well. It's kind of like if there's a chef that cooks at a restaurant, and sometimes he just wants to eat the food himself. you know,
yeah. Oh,
sometimes he wants
that's
to
so
eat the food
deep.
himself. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, and even if he's serving his friends and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, you should sell this." It's like, no, I just want to do this for me, and that's how I feel about photography. Sometimes I just want to do it for me and have my own personal outlets and do that for me. Um,
Right.
and I think the other thing is, ultimately, I found that what it is I like people. Like, I spend so much time in a room without windows, uh, that when I see somebody, I'm like, hi, that's the person you see. Like the day you came for the podcast, that room has no windows.
Right.
I don't get to see a lot of people. I'm a
Yeah.
workaholic. I'm always behind a computer. And I think that's why people give me energy. So when I'm
Yeah, I'm the
around
same way.
people, yeah,
Right.
so I need to find a way to, like, how do I optimize myself? How do I optimize my obsession with being around people? And one could say it's
Mm,
like, oh, because like my wife tells me, like, she says that I have a different type of energy when I'm teaching dance class, um and when I have a different kind of energy when I'm teaching photo workshops. And it's because I
wow.
really do enjoy people. I enjoy being around people, and they kind of give me that fix, if that makes sense.
Right. It does. Yeah, I'm an extrovert too. So I feel you 1000%. Like I'll just kind of be at home chilling and vibing, but then when I see my friends or anyone, really, I'm kind of like, "Hi, everyone. Hello,
Yeah, I
humans."
feel like you and I have very similar personalities.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're so yellow and like, let's play, let's have fun. What's the fun thing that can be done here?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what life is supposed to be about, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, like, I don't worry about stuff. I
Lucky
just
you. Are you
no
sure?
when I what no no seriously, I don't, because like, there's no purpose to worry. Like,
It's
name
true.
like
Worry pretends to be productive and helpful. It's
yeah,
not.
it's not. It's a
It's not.
distraction. It
You're right.
slows down. It means, like, literally, it means nothing. Like,
Right.
it means absolutely nothing. Like, for every worry, there's like a solution. Whatever that solution is, no matter how difficult, like, let's just follow that, you know?
Well, I heard this too. I can't remember where this philosophy comes from, but it's like, so whatever you're worrying about, can you do something about it? Yes. Well, then why worry? Or can you do something about it? No. Well, then why worry? Like, no matter if you can or can't do something about it, worry pretends to be useful, but it's not. Because if you
It's
can
really
or
not.
can't, it's like, well, that's the answer.
No, it just creates a chemical imbalance in your body that makes you do bad things.
Yeah,
That's
it
it.
can for sure. Oh,
And one
absolutely.
could also argue that it's the chemical imbalance in your body that causes you to worry, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think I feel like I can kind of train my brain to think the opposite, like,
That's so nice.
yeah, like, you're right. Like, somebody hits my car, that sucks.
Right.
Okay, well, what are the next steps? Like, did anybody get hurt? Did anybody get die? Like, okay, nobody did. Cool. All right, it sucks. Pay for it. Oh, you can't pay for that. You can't afford it. Cool. Insurance. Like, there's nothing that can be done. Like,
Right.
just fix the car. You know,
Right.
get a
Oh,
car
so
fix.
wise.
And that's, honestly, even an entrepreneur brain, you kind of have to have that, because
Right.
like, I think, okay, so, like, the number one thing that people ask me as a quote entrepreneur, they always ask me, and this is a canned answer, I've answered it so many times, like, they'll be like, hey man, how's it like to run your own business? How does it like this? And my answer is like, the best way I can explain it is, think about any job that you can apply for and go apply for that. Okay, write up your resume, walk in there, suit and tie, sit down with the interviewer, and when they ask you, what position do you want to apply for, you tell them, all of them.
Huh?
Yeah. What position do you want to apply for? All of them. It could be a Starbucks, it could be at Amazon, it could be anything. That's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. You're the janitor, you're the accountant, you're the marketing
Yo,
director,
yes.
you're the customer complaint hotline, you're the website designer, you're everything. You have to
Yeah.
take on everything. And that's it's part of the process of being an entrepreneur. Number one, you have actually I also said this like I also said to people like I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm self-employed. I just made myself a job.
That's interesting. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, because that's the like I try to tell people don't get lost in the title. Like entrepreneur sounds
Mm,
fine. Like I said, it doesn't mean you're good. It doesn't mean that you're rich. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're working for yourself. But true entrepreneurships is once you take on all those tasks, you realize that there's literally not enough time in the day to fulfill all of those things. So
yeah.
then you have to learn how to delegate these tasks. Like even today, I've literally spent 12 hours editing 2 videos. That's all I
Wow.
did today. It was editing 2 videos, and
Oh,
some of those clips I had to message people like, "Hey, can you edit this clip for me? Can you do this for me? Hey,
wow.
here's some photos. Can you edit for me?" And I think that's where the structure of Virak Studio started to change when I started to outsource a lot of these smaller things. And
Right.
yeah, and that's part of the story too. Is like you got to learn how to outsource the smaller things, and it's cool that you can do it and all, but you got
Hmm.
to outsource it, and that's what an entrepreneur has to do. And the U.S. tax code promotes it,
Right.
and it's that's what an entrepreneur does is you're quote creating jobs. Because imagine like as my business gets busier and busier. And let's say I start making, this is fake numbers. Okay. I'm just throwing this for example. Let's say I make $200,000, $240,000 a year. I'm making $20,000 a month. Well, that means I'm taking a certain level of income in and a certain amount of business to get to make $20,000 a month.
Right.
All my time is gone at that point.
Hmm.
Well, now, okay, well, I can't do that gig. So then I have to send somebody to do those gigs for me. I have to have an editor. I have to eat out. I have to get a cleaner. I have to do all these things. Well, those people that I'm paying money to, they have to pay taxes on that income, right?
Right.
They
Right.
wouldn't have paid taxes if I didn't create that. So I write off those taxes to them. So they get taxed on income tax, and they take the rest of the money they earn and they go spend stuff elsewhere, which produces another stream of tax revenue for the US government. But then I'm rewarded by having to write that off of my taxes. So that'll
Right.
start to reduce my tax liability. Okay, this is nice. Oh, so you know what? Why am I riding around this convertible? Why not get a van? So I got rid of my convertible. I bought a cargo van. Oh, I get to write off all of those things because the van is necessary
Yeah.
to carry all the supplies that I have. I don't all 100% of all the money I spent on the lease of my studio, I wrote that off my taxes as well.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I think
okay, so give us to wrap up, give us like what are the top 5 tips you would give to someone who's wanting to take a hobby and monetize it? So like someone, an aspiring entrepreneur, what's the 5 things they need to do?
oh, number one, do it. Like just like you
Oh,
said,
I thought that's the
like
word.
like
Yes.
just do it. Like people have all these ideas that never come to fruition.
Right.
Is because they're scared. Like stop
Yeah.
getting scared and just do it. That's one. Just do it. Number two, the reason why they don't do it is because they have an expectation. Their
Right.
expectation is that they're going to get rich. Their expectation is they're going to get money. No, your expectations should be you should expect disappointment. You should expect no. You should
Mm,
expect getting thrown under the bus. You should you're putting your reputation on the line. You
wow.
you should you should expect criticism. You should expect that because I can almost guarantee you that you're going to get those things. If you're willing to do that and fight through that, that's fine. So that would be number two. Just expect the worst. Don't expect the best. Expect the absolute worst. Because if you expect the worst, then you can create that bravery to kind of take that step forward.
Yeah.
Number three, don't chase money. I can't emphasize that enough.
Mm,
Don't chase money. Money is important. I'm not going to lie. Money is super important. But
yeah.
the problem is people make their decisions based on trying to get money. And they start, like any company that's chasing money is doomed. Like, think about this. What is Facebook trying to do? Oh, they want to get more revenue, so they put more ads, or they reduce this, or they put subscription fees, and they alienate their customer base. So they're gonna end up losing. Or I can't say Chipotle does it. I'm just trying to think of some type of restaurant, but they may lower the quality of their meats because they want to have money. No, you
Mm,
have to chase after something different. So for me, it was like, I want to make good photos. I want to take great photos. I want to give good customer service. I want to focus on providing a story to people. I want to provide these things. And then in terms of workshops, I want to make sure that I help these photographers grow. My
mm,
goal is to make sure that they grow, that they learn, and that they're getting something from the workshops. If I'm not giving them a good experience, they'll never give me money, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
stop chasing the money, start chasing. My other tip, I guess call it number 4, is chase data. Data
Interesting.
is the absolute most important thing. People lie to themselves all the time because they're so obsessed with holding this title that they've built up for themselves. It's like,
Mhm,
no, you have to chase data. Look at the data and then make adjustments and see what it's telling you and what's not. Here's the thing. I have a travel channel that nobody really knows about, and I started posting videos on this travel channel. And the reason why I haven't told people about it is because I'm trying to get an organic following. Because if 1,000, let's say 1,500 of my friends follow it, they've ruined my data pool. Does that make sense?
I understand. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Because someone like your friend might they might not be the match for who you're trying to get who follows. I know I struggle with
Yep.
this with my podcast because it's like my friends might not be my typical client, right? So
Yeah.
it's like yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, because even if you get 1,000 of your friends to follow Healing with Haley, they may not listen to it. They just followed it because they want to support you. Now they're going to
Right.
screw up your retention. you
It
know
does.
it's
Yes.
just like somebody who bakes cookies out of their house, and all their friends sounds like, girl, this is the best cookie I've had in my life. No, it probably sucks, and they're lying to you because they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Your friend. Yeah.
All right, and then you go out there and spend all this money on baking equipment because you think your cookies are fire, but they actually suck.
Yeah.
But you're not getting the correct data. Because if your friend says, like, hey, this thing keeps falling apart and it's hard to hold, that's good data, that's actual data. Then maybe you might add a different ingredient to make it better, right?
So okay, I love this tip, but I have a clarifying question. So what kind of data and where are you trying to find this data?
Well, so number one, okay, here's where I'll start. When I remember how I was talking about titles.
Yeah.
I think with photography, a lot of people can buy that title. The minute you go to Best Buy, buy a camera and a lens, you become a photographer and you say, I'm a photographer. And then the next question is, how do I become a professional photographer? Have you heard people say that?
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Professional comes from the word profession. Okay. Profession means job. Job means you're being paid to do it. So if you can't sustain a lifestyle doing this quote profession, you're not a professional. That's my personal opinion.
So I love how you broke that down. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not a professional. So that means, number one, you're not making enough money. So that's one measurable metric. Okay. So that, I'm going to start there. So the metric number one, do you make enough money to sustain a lifestyle? I think everyone's allowed to live however they want to live. You want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, do it. If you want to live in a 5-bedroom house, do it. But you need to justify the amount of money to make to sustain those things. You want to drive a fancy car? Cool. But can you justify those expenses?
But what about for someone who's like a beginner, right? Because we know they're not going to make money at the beginning.
Yeah, well, get rid of that title. Then gather. If you're in the beginning, you need to gather that data. The data is this good enough for people to buy?
Like a product or service.
A
Is that what
product
you're
or
talking about?
service. And if
Okay.
people are not, here's the other thing, and there's another saying that says, like, causality doesn't equal causation. So just because somebody's buying it is not because of the reasons that you made up in your head. You have to ask,
Mm,
why are they buying this? I'll give you, for instance, if you go to youtube.com/Virak Studio.
Hey,
No,
plug.
no. If you look at the videos that have a pretty girl as a thumbnail,
Yeah.
that has the highest click-through rate,
Oh, okay.
has a high click-through rate and decent retention. But why do they click on it? You know, I can draw a parallel to say if I have a good thumbnail, people will click on it. So that's
Mm,
data. So the data says if I'm more intentional with the thumbnail, I get higher click-through rates. That's a
yeah.
fact. You know, if I pay no attention to the thumbnail, I get a lower click-through rate. What does that data tell me? That data tells me that I should spend some time considering the thumbnail. The,
Yeah.
the, the number one video that's on my um, travel channel is called um, Stuck on an Elevator at the Sortis Hotel.
Oh,
I got stuck on an elevator. Oh, that's a cool clickbaity title,
yeah.
you know? So the data they have to look for is measurable data, like are people buying this or are they not? And it's going to vary from business to business. Like give me a business, I'll tell you what they should be.
Life coach.
Life coach. Okay, so the life coach, that's a very ambiguous kind of thing. Okay, so the
Right.
question would be number one, how so to get be a successful life coach, number one thing is you need is clients.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
number one, you could put 4,000 flyers out there. Okay,
Yeah.
if you put out 4,000 flyers, how many people responded to them? That's a
Mm,
measurable metric. Okay.
okay. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
measurable metric. It says out
Right.
of 4,000 flyers, I spent $400. I got two people responded. And then you have to ask yourself, do you get enough return on that investment or not? Maybe I should
Mm,
stop putting out flyers. Do I do a
mm,
Facebook post? How much is it going to cost? How many people did I get return on Facebook posts? What's the
mm.
demographic? And then here's the other thing. What are your repeat customers? What are your customers willing to pay? And what's the demographic of people that continue to buy with you? What coaching element are they getting that could makes them buy another package? Are
Mm.
they your are they a friend of yours? And are they just doing this to entertain you? And then how much are they willing to pay? See, here's
Yeah.
the other, even when it comes down to money, and when people, the number one question people ask me in terms of photography is like, how much should I charge? How much should I charge? The answer to that is very simple. You should charge as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the answer. That's
Right.
if anyone's listening, they're trying to start a business. The answer to how much should I charge is you should charge as much as you can. So, for instance, if you bake cookies and you charge $15 a cookie, okay? Are people buying at $15? I don't know. There's some cookies out there that might be $15, but what's the data tell you? Are people buying it or are they not? And if
Yeah.
they are they continuing to buy it? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Right. I love that.
So
Yeah.
so people have to stop lying to themselves. And you can sell cookies for $1, but then how much did it cost you to make that cookie? People forget to factor that in.
Right.
How much time, and they don't factor the cost of their time, their lifestyles, and most importantly, what their goals are. And their
Mm.
goals should be ridiculous. And I'll give you a quick
That
example. I'm going to quick example because I know we want to wrap up. Haley, let me ask you this: what's your dream vacation?
my dream vacation with all my girlfriends, and we go to somewhere like Bali, and we're doing all this healing and dancing and just going crazy.
Cool. How long?
I think 5 days.
5 days. Okay.
Yeah,
How many of the girls are going with you?
like 10
10. Okay. When are you going to go?
in the summer.
Of what year?
Oh, I would love to go this year.
Okay. All right. Cool. Here's the key question. How much would it cost?
Oh God, like $10,000 probably.
Probably or absolutely?
Not absolutely.
Then what's the number?
I don't know.
Okay, that's my point. See, here's the thing. You don't know. So you want to go to Bali, but you're not
Uh-huh.
willing to go to Bali. Let
Ooh,
me say it. Let me say it again. You want to go to Bali, but you're not willing to go to Bali because
because you
what
don't
step?
know.
Because you don't know what
Ooh, I
steps are you
love that.
taking towards that goal, or is it a dream? My contention is that all dreams can come true, but step one is waking up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yo, you've got some gold nuggets, Virak. Oh God, that's
No,
good.
I'm full of that. No, but seriously, think about this. So if you
Yeah.
told me that, and the thing is, don't listen to your friends that tell you like, oh, you can't do this, and they give you all the reasons why you can't do that,
Oh,
right?
those aren't good friends.
Yeah, to just ignore them. That's my whole thing. I just
Yeah.
ignore all the noise. So
Yeah.
number one, let's
You need
say,
new friends at that point.
all right, so let's assume it's 12,000 for easy math. Okay,
Okay.
12,000 is a more manageable number. Okay, 12,000. That's $1,000 a month,
That's interesting. Okay.
right? So if
Okay.
you want to go to Bali in a year, you need to save $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Fair? Now,
Right.
everything else doesn't matter. I know you're a mom. Okay. I know you
Right.
have other dramas in your life. I'm sure you got some bills to pay,
Right.
right? You have those bills. Cool. Make $1,000 more than that.
Yo, yeah.
That's it. But I'm dead ass serious. Make $1,000 more than that. So the next question is this: okay, you can't just say it's like, oh, I can't do this for the following reason, because the minute you say that, then just give up.
Your brain turns off.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so true.
yeah, the brain turns off. Throw that idea in the trash. But if I said, okay, could you earn 250 a week more than
Extra.
what you're doing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it breaks it
Manageable.
down. All right, so like, how much is that? Like $50 a day? Okay, then
Yeah.
what can you do to either a save $50 a day or make
Mm.
$50 a day?
Oh,
Are you
I
going to
love
sell
your
a Are
thoughts.
you going to sell one more product that's going to garner you a $50 product? Are you going to give one more service that's going to garner a $50 profit? And are you willing to take that profit from said product or service and put it aside? How important is this trip for you? Because if you're able to do that, if you're willing to do that,
Yeah.
then after just 1 year, you go to Bali. And here's the crazy part: once you start that process and you start gathering data, let's say you start to make t-shirts. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I also have a t-shirt company, but that's a whole different story.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. But once you start making t-shirts, you start gathering other data. When I started my t-shirt company, I thought it would be fun to just make a bunch of t-shirts and sell like bachata shirts and salsa shirts
Yeah.
and just kind of come up with my own designs and sell that.
Yeah.
But what I learned is that the money is in fulfilling orders for other people who have created their own designs. So all these other people who have dance companies are like, hey, can you make one for like that has such and such? Like, I'm going to shout out to El Morenito. He buys from me all the time. All the El Morenito shirts. He's like, hey, I need an order of 20. Yeah, I need an order of 15. And that's how I get more clients. And then the data I gather is I'll start ordering from my supplier. And let's say I get $80 worth of shirts. Well, for $20 more, I can get free shipping. Right? Instead of shipping, it's like $25. Like for $20 more, I can get free shipping. So I'll order $20 worth of other shirts with different fabrics, and I'll just do tests to see what fabrics works best, which ones feels better, which one takes more heat, which one avoids peeling, because I want to gather that data, because those are just junk shirts anyway. you know and then I start realizing what colors work better, what fabrics. I learned more about sublimation and t-shirt design than I ever thought I ever would. But as you start that process, all of a sudden that $50 that you were trying to save per week turns into 100, it turns into 200, and
Yeah.
then that trip will come out sooner. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
that's so inspiring. Yeah,
But like I
you're
said in the
allowed
beginning.
by asking questions to your brain, like, okay, how much would it cost? Okay, what would I need to make? So you're kind of like figuring out how to get what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And by the
so,
way, that concept I stole. There's two books that changed my life.
is it Rich Dad
Think
Poor Dad?
Rich Dad Poor Dad
Yeah, yo.
and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I haven't read that one
Read,
yet.
read it,
That's on my
read it,
to-do list.
read
Okay.
it. Basically, what that says is, because like poor people will say, "This is my situation now, and
Yeah.
these are the reasons why I can't get these things." Whereas
Right.
the other person's like, hey, like this is also Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like, "This is what I want, and I can't afford it at the moment. What do I have to do to afford it?
Yes. I
Like
love
what?"
that mindset so much.
So for me, that's why the studio was such an important place for me,
Hmm.
because it took me 4 years, but it was 4 years of obsession saying I want the studio around so many people that gave me all the reasons why it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And I didn't do this to prove them wrong. I did this to prove myself right.
Yeah. You made the decision right for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what people need to do. I think they're just really afraid. and they
Yeah.
should be because it sucks. Like being an entrepreneur.
And it's like it's kind of scary to dream, right? Because it's like you kind of when you dream, right, you get all these like really positive emotions and there's this hope and it's like it's this beautiful thing. But then it's like really vulnerable because it's like, well, oh my gosh, it would take so much to get that or, all that doubt comes in and it's pretty vulnerable to dream.
Oh no! Here's the last thing. I'll be real. Look, guys, if anyone even follows me on Facebook, I post all the good stuff. All right, running a business sucks. It
Yeah.
effing sucks. It will drain the life out of you. It'll drain your soul. It'll just push you to the brink. It'll push you to the
Yep.
edge. It'll make you
Yes.
want to pull out whatever hair you have left. It'll make you throw stuff. Haley, have you ever kicked the chair? Have you ever kicked the chair?
No,
It feels fantastic,
I'm
right?
gonna kick a
But
chair.
you're gonna kick a chair, you want to break stuff, you want to throw stuff, you deal with such crap,
Yeah.
but the reward outweighs the crap because
Yeah.
I can deal with this with an employer. I can deal with this with the other things. So I have to feel like what's gonna suck more, like
Mm,
working a 9 to 5 job for another 30 years or walk through some crap for 10 or 15 years and then just be good. Like they
yeah.
both suck. So just pick your suck. Like again, I
You
don't kick.
suck. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's not my line. I took it from somebody, but it's true. Like it's gonna suck, but
Right.
if you're willing, then you'll learn and
Yeah.
you'll learn. And if at least you can go through the process and say, hey, I tried, you
Right.
know, and it's not my favorite quote, I know you like these nuggets. My
I
absolute
love
favorite
nuggets.
quote was, there's no such thing as failure. You either win or you learn.
Ooh, you either win or you learn. I haven't heard that one before. I like
Yeah,
it.
it used to be my little tagline on the bottom of my emails, but yeah, you either win or you learn. That's it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Oh my God, Brock, this was so I'm like I can like picture all your stories and you're such a great storyteller and you have such wisdom. I know that beginner entrepreneurs are just going to benefit from this conversation so much. And I can feel your love for humans and just like wanting them to do it. That's so
Yeah,
great.
well,
Was that
because
number
like
five? Did you finish number five?
well, if I didn't, the last thing I'll say is,
Yes.
don't be a detail oriented person.
Ooh, go,
I'm
go, go.
sorry, I am gonna say that because people also ask about school and education. They
Yeah.
always say you got to get a good education to get a good job, but they
Mm,
never say you got to get a good education to offer good jobs, right? They
interesting.
never say that.
Okay.
They don't prime you to become an entrepreneur. They don't prime you to become a business person. and
Interesting.
and what happens is you can't get lost in the detail. Like if I were to go to an interview and someone says, Virak, are you a detail oriented person? My answer would be absolutely not. I hate the details. I'm be real. I hate the details. I hate doing my taxes. I hate doing all this crap. But what you have to be is you have to be a big picture person. You have
Oh
to
yeah.
think you have to think about the bigger picture. So just like your trip to Bali, is it important what hotel you're staying at and how you get from the airport to your hotel?
Oh,
Absolutely. That's a finite detail, but you don't need to plan that unless you know you're going to Bali. Does that make sense?
right.
So some people get
Right.
so lost in the small details they never get started. And
Mm,
they're like, okay, well, okay, I'm gonna start my business. What's my logo? What's my company name gonna be? Can I get a www dot such and such? Can I do this? I'm like, no, does your product suck or not? How do you know?
ooh, yeah.
That's it. Does it
Take
suck or not?
action.
Like just go, just do it and see what happens. And if you
Yeah.
don't do it, you're gonna be sitting there trying to figure out like what color scheme you're gonna use for your business card. Like that's
Yeah.
like I like these business cards. I almost never use these business cards.
Right.
Most of my business is word of mouth. Business cards and videos and advertising marketing, that's a supplement to your overall marketing strategy. And your marketing strategy is going to come on whether your item sucks or not, and the people will tell you if it sucks or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
so so be the big picture person and not these details. The details is going to bog you down. Hire somebody to sort those details out for you.
oh,
Hire an accountant, hire a photo editor, hire all these things. Like don't get lost in the details. That's going to keep you from getting started. Because you can't get started now. You're not going to be able to sustain it.
Yeah. Oh,
Like look
so
at
wise.
how many episodes. What episode is this podcast going to be?
Well, I'm at 59 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have six in queue. So you might be 70 or 66. Depends.
Yeah, and here's the thing: there are people out there that can't get to 5
I
podcasts.
know. Did you know it's 10? That people can't get to 10? That's like where they all just kind of drop off.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be talking about my travel channel until I get to at least 100 videos on there,
Ooh,
because
nice.
I want to be able. If I can't get to 100 video, what makes me think I'm going to get to 1,000 videos? What makes me think I'm going to monetize? No, I
Right.
need at least 100 and then figure it out. And like,
Yeah.
for instance, I wanted to start my own podcast, right?
Yes.
Like, but here's the thing: I'm not willing. I look at this. I have high end cameras. I got lighting.
Yo,
I
yes.
got the audio equipment,
Yeah,
but I choose. I'm just like, this is too much work.
it is. It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's one of the things I learned. Was at Virak Studios. When I bought all the podcasting equipment,
Uh-huh.
and I leaned into that. And Abraham, yeah, he was one of the first 5 people to use the podcasting equipment. I realized that people want to be on podcasts, but they don't want to run their own podcast because it's a
Right.
lot of work, ain't
It
it?
is. It is. Yes.
Well, then what drives you to do it?
I just love all the aspect, like it's called Healing with Haley. I love all the different venues of healing. There's so many
Mm.
ways to heal, and I think we can all learn from each other's skill sets, from each other's mindsets. I think that there's just so many options to like improving our lives, learning, growing, and healing. So for me,
And,
it's like I love interviews like this because I just feel so inspired, and I know I'm not the only one that wants to hear this message.
and what is your goal with
My
Healing with
goal
Haley?
with my
Mhm.
podcast,
Yeah, what's your
oh, I
goal?
definitely want to get to the point. I want to be Mel Robbins. Like she is
Let them.
my vision.
Mel Robbins, let them theory, right?
Yeah, the let them theory. Oh, we are on the same wavelength. Yeah, the let them theory. Yeah. I mean, she interviews people that I would die to interview. I would love to have a conversation with Gabor Mate, with Joe Dispenza, with David Goggins. I mean, the people she interviews, I would be honored. That's my dream. That's my dream. I would die to be like Mel Robbins. That's my goal.
So okay, then let me put this out to you. Your
Yes.
goal
Put me
would
on
be
the
to
spot.
interview Mel Robbins. Is that correct? You
I
would
would
love
want
that.
to interview her.
Uh-huh.
Oh, maybe. Why not? Sure.
Okay. But here's the thing. Let's say you want to talk to Mel Robbins. Just talk to her,
I would love
right?
to. Yes.
This is a very simple task. Message her. That's it. It's that simple. I
Mhm.
swear to you. I swear to you, it's that simple.
I will.
Message her.
Okay.
Message her on Spotify. Message her through email. Message her through Facebook. Message her through all these things. It's so simple. Hey Mel, my name's Haley with Healing with Haley. I would love to have you, I guess, on my podcast. I'm trying to grow this podcast and helping empower women and other people to follow their dreams and stuff like that. And even though it's a small podcast, I think that's great to have a voice like yours. And I would love to share and spread your message. When's a good time that we can talk? That's it. She might even have people like, hey, we got your message, such and such, but you have to try. And if you don't try it, I can guarantee you she will not reach out to you. It's like, hey, I want to talk to you. I guarantee you. How many people do you think actually reached out to her?
Yeah. I I wonder, so I want to be doing what she's doing. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily need to have a conversation with her. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
love, I'll do it. I love how like
This
daring
is
it is.
yeah, that's
I'll try it.
like shoot your shot, like let me
Yes.
get you know.
I love what she does, and I want to be doing what she's doing, but like it doesn't necessarily mean with her, if that
Let me
makes
ask
sense.
you this. Have you read her book?
Yeah, the let them theory, yes.
Okay. Here's what Bell and Kiyosaki have in common.
I
They're
love
just no, they're just people.
right,
They're
right.
just freaking people. They're just people. and it's not like they're scholars that have a degree in literature and anything like that. They're just people, and they're just writing their thoughts and ideas on paper and submitting it.
Right.
But that's what resonates with people, and it's the fact that you just went and just did it. Like, tip number one, just do it. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what it's going to take, like, because for you, it's about getting more episodes on Healing with Haley,
Right.
helping more people.
Right.
Like, you don't need to have the same microphone. You don't need to have the same camera lighting setup to
No.
make your podcast successful. I listened to your podcast with Lottie, like the audio sounds fine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the audio sounded fine. You both have great personalities, and that's what's going to make a compelling podcast that someone's going to listen to in their car and driving. So it's like people get so inundated with things like, oh, is my video high quality? Is the audio high quality? No,
That's so
just
true.
just do that. You're up to like 70 episodes. Bravo. Get to
Thank
100.
you.
Like, just keep that
Yes,
going.
that's the goal.
Like, and a lot of people just don't do anything. They just make excuses on why they can't do it because they're
Right.
afraid. Because they're
Yeah.
afraid. I don't blame them. It's like I said, it sucks.
Scary. Yeah.
Sorry, I could keep on talking. Like, I could see. Yeah.
Oh my God, Virak, this was so, I can't wait to like publish this and get this out to people. Where can people find you? Tell us again all your YouTube channels. You said you had a travel one. So tell us how we can connect with you.
Okay, you said that I'm not going to go off for a while. Well, right now, Virak Studio is my YouTube page, and Virak Studio was that YouTube page talked a lot about the studio, but I'm going to be transitioning and talking about um, how I'm using equipment on the travel channel, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I've learned a lot of stuff about traveling and using equipment while traveling. Like, I bought,
Yeah.
you know, 3 camera bodies and lenses and stuff. And I'm
Wow.
like, it sucks to bring that much stuff. So I'll be talking about things like that. I won't necessarily talk so much about business aspects
Hmm,
of
hmm.
that unless people want to hear it. But I found that people want a shortcut. And I think that's the wrong way to approach business. You got to go through the long way. There's no shortcuts. You got to go through hell.
Yeah.
You gotta walk through absolute crap. If you're willing to do that, you're good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
said at Virak Studios. Is that for Instagram or is that for YouTube?
YouTube is Virak Studio. Instagram
Uh-huh.
is Virak Photo. And
Cool.
I don't
Okay.
even use it that much.
Okay.
But everything's basically Virak or virakstudio.com. Like,
There we
that
go.
has all links, but I'm not the person that really plays the social media card that much.
Uh-huh.
Um, we I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The channel on my YouTube channel is called A Slow Morning.
Oh,
Yeah, because my wife and I are trying to emphasize, like, we'd like to have slow mornings or just
yeah.
wake up, have some coffee,
Mm-hmm.
meditate a little bit, pray a little bit,
Yes,
and just, do that.
I
Um,
love it.
yeah.
Oh, what a great episode, Rock. Thank you for your time. What a treat. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.